everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm sharing a Fuse Tool Shaker card featuring the Party Like a Panda stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. I started with a piece of Canson watercolor paper, and I'm going to work on creating a background for my card by blending some Distress Oxide inks. The colors that I'm using are Tumbled Glass, Seedless Preserves, Worn Lipstick, and Squeezed Lemonade. You may have noticed when I started blending with the Tumbled Glass, it was a little bit on the purple side, and that's because the last time I used that blending sponge, I blended it together with a purple color, and I still had some of that residue on the sponge from last time. But that's okay because I was blending it with purple again this time, so it didn't really matter that I had that purple residue on the sponge. I will probably have to change that sponge out if I want to use that Tumbled Glass again and not blend it with purple. Using a very small paintbrush, I believe this is a number 2 round watercolor brush, I tapped some clean water onto that panel and then I soaked it up with a paper towel. I took the Faceted Stripes stencil from Simon Says Stamp and I taped that over the top of my background panel, and I'm blending across that with some Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink. Now I added that ink very randomly and very lightly. I wanted the pattern that I created from this to be very, very subtle. Next, I took some Brutus Monroe Aqua pigment paint in the color Pearl, and I splattered that on top of the panel using that same number 2 round brush. To finish up this background, I took my Seedless Preserves Distress Oxide ink, and I kind of smooshed it onto that palette so that I could pick it up with the paintbrush, and then I added even more splatters. For the sentiments on this card, I'm going to be using the Party Like a Panda stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. I started with the balloon sentiment, which says happy, and I'm going to stamp that onto some vellum with some Versamark ink, and then emboss it with Alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I do want to apologize if you hear some insects in the background today. It is cicada season here where I live, and they are really loud right now, so you might be able to hear them through the mic. I actually tried to create a soundproof barrier around my microphone with some bath towels, but that doesn't really work as well as I was hoping it would. Anyway, I cut out that first sentiment with some scissors, and then I stamped a second sentiment with Versafine Onyx Black ink onto some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I set those sentiments aside and I pulled my background back out, and I'm going to start creating my Fuse Tool Shaker. The plastic that I'm using for this is actually a 12 by 12 scrapbooking sleeve that I had in my stash from back when I used to scrapbook. I find that scrapbooking sleeves and some photo sleeves work really well for the Fuse tool. There are also some sleeves that you can purchase that are specifically for the Fuse tool, and I'll put links to those below in case you're interested in checking them out. As you can see, I just used a metal ruler and I rolled along the edge with the Fuse tool, and that fuses together the 2 sheets to create the pocket. There are 2 things that you always want to keep in mind when you're using the Fuse tool. The first thing is always make sure that you let it warm up a good amount of time before using it. I recommend at least 20 minutes. If you don't let it warm up long enough, it's not going to work very well. The second thing is it is very hot. You will burn yourself if you touch that end, so steer clear. I filled up the shaker with some large clear glitter as well as some clear micro pearls from Brutus Monroe, and then I closed up that pocket with the Fuse tool and cut off any of the excess plastic. At this point, I realized I wanted a third sentiment, so I picked out one of the smaller font sentiments from the same stamp set, and I stamped that with Versamark ink onto some Bazzill Licorice Twist cardstock, and then I embossed that with the white embossing powder. I took my shaker pocket and I used my ATG gun in order to add some adhesive to the back of it, and then I carefully adhered it onto an A2 size card base made out of some Neenah cardstock. I decided to adhere my balloon sentiment with my G&K Designs Connect glue. I added that behind all of the letters and then a little bit behind the string. I knew that I could hide the glue behind those letters because I'm going to be covering them up later. For the birthday sentiment, I popped it up with some foam tape under the balloons, and I have it off to the right a little bit. And then for the last sentiment, I cut it down into a strip with a slanted edge on the right side, and then I popped that up with foam tape under both of the other sentiments. One really nice thing about this plastic surface is that these sentiments are actually movable for a little while, at least the foam tape ones, which is a good thing because I really didn't like the placement the first time, so I was able to pick them both up and adjust them. Once I was happy with the placement of those sentiments, I took out some Copic markers. I really tried to match these Copic markers to the background as best as I could, and then I filled in each of the letters on that balloon sentiment. I didn't do any shading with this, I just filled in the areas. The hardest part of it was trying to not touch the actual embossed lines with the Copic markers so that those lines would stay nice and white. I took the Nouveau Crystal Glaze and I filled in each of those letters to give them some dimension and really make them look more like balloons. For the finishing touches on this card, I first pulled out some sequins from Lucy's card. These are from the White Orchid sequin mix, and I added a few of them around the sentiment and glued them down with Gina K Designs Connect glue. Using my Wink of Stella glitter brush, I added some sparkle to the bottom two sentiments, and then I took the Nouveau Crystal Glaze and I filled in each of those sequins. And then this card is all done, and here's a closer look so that you can see that shaker in action. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed today's card design featuring some products from Simon Says Stamp. All of the supplies that I used for today's card can be found in the description down below. And remember that anytime you use one of my links, you're helping to support this channel at no extra cost to you. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I do new videos every single week, and I'm going to be back with another one really soon. Again, thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good day today.